on the edge of silence. The wind howled across the cold, dark towers of Shirella. The sky was gray, the clouds thick like heavy smoke. Snow fell, soft and silent, covering broken steel and forgotten memories. Kari stood at the edge of a tall, ruined tower. Her long silver hair danced in the icy wind. Her eyes, once full of light, now looked empty. Below her was nothing but darkness and metal, a deep fall that would end everything. She wore a thin robe, torn and dirty. Her feet were bare. Her hands shook, not just from the cold, but from the pain inside. She had lost everything. Her mother, her father, her home, her people were scattered or dead. No one cared anymore. She looked at the sky. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I can't fight anymore." Kari took one step forward. But then, she heard a voice behind her. "Don't." She froze. Her ears twitched slightly. That voice. It was not Chirillan. It was deep, soft, and human. She turned her head slowly. Behind her stood a tall figure in a long brown coat. His face was half covered by a scarf. He looked older than most. His eyes were tired but kind. A large pack hung on his shoulder. Snow clung to his boots. Kari blinked. "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same," the human said, stepping closer. "Go away," she snapped. "You don't know me. You don't know anything." The man stopped walking. He didn't look angry. He just nodded slowly. "You're right. I don't know your name. But I know that look in your eyes." She frowned. "What look?" "The look of someone who thinks the pain will never stop." She looked away. "Because it won't." Silence hung between them for a moment. The wind blew harder. Snowflakes hit her face. "I've been here before," the human said softly. "Different tower, different planet, same cold wind, same edge." Kari turned again. Her eyes narrowed. "Why didn't you jump?" "I almost did," he replied. "But someone said something to me, something I didn't expect." She crossed her arms. "What was it?" He smiled a little. "They said, if you give up now, you'll never know how your story ends." That made me angry at first, but it stayed with me. Kari looked down at the deep fall. Her voice was a whisper. "What if the story only gets worse?" "Then change it," he said. "You're still here. You still have power. You're stronger than you think." "No, I'm not. My people called me weak. They said I was too soft. My family, they're gone. I have no one. You have me, right now," he said gently. "And maybe that's enough for today." She stared at him. The wind died down just a little. "What's your name?" she asked. "Jack," he answered. "I'm Kari." He took one slow step closer. "Nice to meet you, Kari. Would you come with me? There's a warm place not far, a safe place." Kari hesitated. Her toes curled on the edge of the tower. The jump still called to her. The pain still burned, but Jack's words were soft, like a blanket. And his eyes, they held no lies, no judgment, just something she hadn't seen in a long time. Hope. She looked down one last time, then stepped back. Jack reached out, not to grab, but to offer his hand. Kari looked at it, then slowly placed her hand in his. For the first time in many days, her fingers didn't feel cold. As they walked away from the edge, Jack looked at the sky. "You know," he said, "you're not the only one with a broken story. But sometimes two broken stories can help each other heal." Kari said nothing, but her grip on his hand tightened slightly. Behind them, the wind blew across the tower once more, but this time it carried a whisper, not of death, but of a second chance, the human who heard silence. The old path below. The tower was quiet, almost too quiet. Snow crunched under their feet as Kari and Jack walked side by side. The sky above was dark purple now, the sun hidden behind the mountains of scrap metal and collapsed buildings. Kari didn't speak. Her steps were slow, heavy. She kept glancing at Jack, but he didn't push her to talk. He just walked beside her like they had been friends for years. calm, still, watching the road ahead. Finally, she said, "Why did you follow me?" Jack looked up at a tall metal wall where vines had started to grow. "Because I heard something." "Heard what?" she asked, confused. "Silence," he replied. But not normal silence. The kind that screams without sound. Kari blinked. "That makes no sense." "It does to people like us," Jack said. "You don't cry, you don't shout. But the silence around you, it was heavy. It pulled at me. I knew something was wrong." She didn't know what to say to that. No one had ever described her sadness like that before. Most ignored it. Some mocked it. But Jack had felt it, without her saying a word. He led her to an old storage pod buried in the ground. It looked like junk, but inside was a small, warm room with old blankets, a broken lamp, and a solar-powered heater. "This is where you live?" she asked, surprised. "For now," Jack said. "I move around a lot. I don't belong to any place anymore." "Me neither," Kari whispered. She sat on a crate near the heater. Her fingers stretched toward the warmth like a child who hadn't felt comfort in years. Jack made a simple meal, some kind of dry protein bar soaked in hot water to make soup. He gave her the first bowl without asking. She stared at it. "You're giving me food? I'm an alien to you." "You're not alien to pain," Jack said. "That makes us the same." They sat in silence again, but this time it didn't feel heavy. It felt soft. Safe. Kari finally asked, "Were you really going to jump once?" Jack nodded. "Yeah, long time ago, on a world called Row 7. I lost my team, left behind by my own command. I thought I was worthless." "What stopped you?" He took a deep breath. "A child, about your age back then. She grabbed my coat and cried. She didn't say much, just held on. And I realized I was someone to her. Even if the galaxy didn't care, she did." Kari looked into her bowl. "No one's ever done that for me." "You're wrong," Jack said softly. "I did. Just now." She looked up. Their eyes met. For a moment, she forgot about her pain. She forgot the edge. She forgot the dark. Outside, the snow began to fall again. Jack stood and stretched. "Get some rest, I'll keep watch." Kari didn't argue. She lay on a blanket and turned her back to him, but her voice came in a whisper, trembling. "Thank you for hearing my silence." Jack smiled, though she couldn't see it. "Anytime," he said. "That's what humans do. We listen, even when others don't." A weapon that shouldn't exist, Kari woke up to the sound of fire crackling. It wasn't real fire. It was the solar heater humming softly, casting warm orange light across the tiny shelter. Her silver hair stuck to her face. Her eyes opened slowly. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she remembered the edge, the fall, and the human named Jack. She sat up quickly. He wasn't inside. Panic rushed through her chest. But then she saw him, just outside the shelter, sitting on a rock. Snowflakes fell on his shoulders as he cleaned a strange weapon. It was long, black, and humming faintly with blue light. Kari stepped closer. Her eyes widened. "That's not human tech." Jack didn't look up. "No, it's not. That's Shirley combat steel," she said, shocked. This belongs to my people." "Where did you get it?" Jack kept polishing the weapon gently, like it was a sleeping animal. "From a man I trusted and failed." Kari knelt beside him, staring at the markings on the handle. "This sigil, it's royal." Jack sighed. "His name was Velrin. He saved my life during the human-Zerilan border war. While everyone else wanted to kill each other, he said something different. He said, 'One day our children will need to speak, so we must leave them something worth remembering.'" Kari whispered, "Velrin was my father." Jack slowly looked at her. The wind stopped. Silence again, but this time it was heavy with shock. "You're his daughter?" Jack asked quietly. Kari nodded. "He died during the fall of the capital. They told us his body was never found. Jack reached into his coat and pulled out a small silver cube. I've kept this ever since. It has his last words. For someone he said I'd meet one day. Kari's hands shook as she took the cube. When she pressed it, a soft blue light rose. Voice filled the air, strong, noble, and kind. Kari, if you hear this, then I'm gone. I did what I had to for peace. Forgive me for not coming home, but know this. If you're with the human called Jack, trust him. He's not like the others. Her breath caught in her throat. She dropped the cube. It landed in the snow. Jack picked it up and said nothing. Kari stood up fast. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I didn't know, Jack said calmly. I didn't recognize you. You were just a girl on a ledge. I saw pain, not bloodlines. She turned her back, eyes burning. You think that makes it better? No, he said softly. But it makes it real. She closed her eyes. Her heart hurt in a new way now. Not from being alone, but from being remembered. Jack walked past her, setting the cube back in the shelter. I didn't follow you to play hero, he said. I followed you because I heard what no one else wanted to hear. I didn't expect to find Velryn's daughter. Kari said nothing. She just stared at the snowy horizon. Then she asked, Do you still believe what he said? Jack looked. About our children needing to speak, yes, I do. Then help me, she said. Help me find the ones who are still alive. My people are not all dead. Some escaped. They're hiding, broken, like I was. Jack tightened the strap on his weapon. I'll help you. Kari finally turned toward him. Why? He smiled faintly. Because your father saved my life, and now maybe I can return the favor. Ambush in the ash field. The world beyond the shelter was not kind. Kari and Jack walked across the gray plains of Shirella, where the ground was dry ash and twisted metal. Dead trees stood like black bones, and old battle wreckage poked out from the soil like jagged teeth. They were searching for Kari's people, or at least a sign someone survived, but no signal had come yet. Kari held the silver cube tightly. Jack walked beside her, quiet but watchful. His strange alien weapon now hung across his back. After an hour of silence, Kari spoke. Do you ever regret saving someone? Jack raised an eyebrow. No. But I've regretted not saving someone. She didn't ask who. His voice already told the story. Suddenly the air changed. Kari stopped walking. Her ears twitched. Something's wrong, she whispered. Jack's hand moved to his weapon. That's when the first bolt hit the ground near them, burning hot, searing the ash into glass. Get down, Jack shouted, pulling Kari behind. A rusted metal wall. 3 figures appeared from behind the rocks, tall, masked, armed. Raiders. These weren't simple scavengers. Their armor had old Girellan markings painted over with red. Betrayers. Outlaws. The kind who hunted their own kind, or worse, sold them. They're not here for food, Kari said, trembling. No, Jack muttered. They want us alive. The next bolt hit inches away. Kari screamed and ducked lower. Jack stood up halfway, aimed his weapon, and fired. A blue flash tore through the air, striking one raider and sending him flying back, armor cracked. Kari stared at the weapon. That's not just Girellan tech, that's bonded tech. How are you able to use it? No time to explain, Jack yelled. Move left, stay low. Kari ran, heart pounding. Bolts flew past her, her legs burned, but she didn't stop. Jack rolled behind another broken engine and covered her. 2 left. One raider tried to flank. Jack turned fast, fired again, hit. But the last one was fast. Too fast. He tackled Jack, knocking the weapon away. The 2 rolled in the ash. Jack punched. The raider kicked. Kari grabbed a metal rod and ran toward them, unsure what she was even doing. Jack was pinned. The raider raised a blade. Kari screamed and slammed the rod into the raider's back. He turned, angry, but Jack used the moment to grab his throat and flip him. Dust exploded into the air. When it cleared, the raider was on the ground, unmoving. Kari dropped the rod. Her hands were shaking. Jack stood up, blood on his lip. He looked at her and nodded. You okay? Carrie stared at the fallen men. I've never hurt anyone before. You didn't kill him. You saved me. She looked down. Still, I felt something. Fear. Rage. I thought I was soft. You were brave, Jack said. That's different. They gathered their things and kept moving, but now Kari looked over her shoulder often. Why did they attack us, she asked. Jack frowned. They weren't random. They knew who you were. I think someone wants to make sure the royal bloodline doesn't rise again. Kari touched the cube at her neck. They don't just want me dead, she said. They want my story erased. Jack stopped and looked at her. Then we won't let them. We keep walking. We find your people. We tell your story ourselves. Kari nodded slowly. The fire inside her, once cold, now burned with purpose. But far in the distance, behind broken towers and storm clouds, something else was watching them. And it had just begun to move. Whispers of the temple. They reached the outer edge of the dead city by sunset. The buildings here were shattered glass and rusted stone, leaning like drunks after a storm. Between them, old statues of Shirellan heroes stood cracked and forgotten. Kari walked slower now. Her fingers brushed one of the statues, a warrior with wings. My mother told me stories of this place, she said softly. It was once sacred, before the war. Jack scanned the skyline. Sacred or not, we need shelter. Raiders don't stop at night. No, Kari said. We're not just passing through. We need to go there. She pointed to a large structure buried half in rubble. A tall gate covered in vines stood at its entrance, still glowing faintly with blue light. Jack frowned. What is it? The Temple of Silence, she whispered. My ancestors built it. Only those with royal blood could enter. Inside is memory. Jack raised an eyebrow. Memory? Kari stepped closer to the gate. It's hard to explain. It doesn't just show history, it feels it. You don't just see the past, you live it. Before Jack could respond, Kari touched the gate. A hum echoed. The vines shivered, then pulled back on their own. Dust rose as ancient metal doors groaned open. Kari walked in without fear. Jack followed. Inside, the temple was quiet. Too quiet. Their footsteps echoed on the stone floor. Soft lights flickered to life one by one, revealing walls covered in glowing carvings of battles, coronations, and family trees. Kari moved slowly, eyes wide. She touched one wall, and it rippled, like water. Suddenly her body froze. Jack turned fast. Kari! She stood still, eyes glowing faintly, mouth slightly open. She was seeing something, but not with her eyes. In her mind, Kari stood in a golden hall. Her mother held her hand. Her father stood at a podium, speaking to a crowd. She was just a child, but the warmth, the safety, it wrapped around her heart like a blanket. Then the sky turned red. The floor shook. Screams. Fire. She watched her parents shove her into a hidden tunnel, watched her own tiny hands reach for them as the door slammed shut. She gasped. Jack grabbed her shoulders. Kari, wake up. She fell into his arms, breathing hard. It showed me, she said, voice breaking. The last day, I never remembered it before, but now, I saw them. Jack looked around. This place, it's not just memory, it's unlocking things. Suddenly, a voice echoed in the air, deep and female. Blood confirmed. Last air located. Emergency path opened. The floor beneath them shook. A hidden staircase opened, glowing blue. Kari stared. This is it. My mother said there was an escape tunnel, but this one leads below, not out. Jack narrowed his eyes. You think someone survived down there? I don't know, Kari whispered. But if anyone hid, this is where they'd be. They stepped onto the stairs. The air grew colder with each step. Then they reached a small chamber. In the center, floating, was a black crystal. Kari stepped forward. "What is that?" Jack asked. Kari's voice was soft. "A memory core. It holds the voices of every queen before me." She touched it. Hundreds of voices whispered all at once, but one rose above the rest. "Kari, child of the lost blood, if you've come this far, you must lead. Not with a crown, not with fear, but with kindness, like your father." Tears welled in her eyes. Jack put a hand on her shoulder. "What now?" Kari turned to him. Her face was calm, strong. "We find the survivors. We bring them here. We awaken the bloodline. But they'll come for us," Jack warned. She nodded. "Let them. I'm not running anymore." Unseen in the shadows, behind the walls, an old camera lens turned and clicked. Someone else now knew the heir had returned, and they would not let her rise without a fight. Betrayal. Beneath the stars, the sky above Girella burned orange as Kari and Jack left the Temple of Silence. The black memory crystal now hung from a chain around Kari's neck. Its whispers had gone quiet, for now, but Jack noticed something different in her eyes. The fear was gone. In its place, resolve. They followed a hidden trail that led north toward the mountain ridge. Kari believed a secret colony of survivors, once loyal to her family, was hiding there. She wasn't sure they would accept her, but she had to try. Siu. Sun had almost set when they reached an abandoned transit station carved into the cliffside. The metal doors were stuck half open, overgrown with weeds and vines. It looked dead from the outside, but inside they found something unexpected. Movement, a campfire, and 3 figures around it, aliens with cloaks and scarred faces. Jack raised his weapon. Kari stepped forward first. "Wait," she said. "I know that symbol." She pointed to the patch on one of their shoulders, an old royal sigil. The tallest one stood. He was broad, with black scales and golden eyes. "Kari of House Velrin?" he said in a rough voice. Kari nodded slowly. "Yes." The alien dropped to one knee. "Forgive us, we thought the bloodline was lost." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Stand, we don't need bows, we need allies." He stood and introduced himself. "I am Threx. I led the Queen's Guard until the end. We've been hiding. Since the fall, waiting, hoping." "You don't need to hide anymore," Kari said. "We're going to rise again." Threx hesitated. "There's something you should see." He led them down an old elevator shaft to a sealed room. Inside were crates, dozens of them. Jack opened one, weapons, armor. Sealed tech. Kari stepped back. "This is Royal Armory stock. We saved what we could," Threx said, "but we've been afraid to use it, until now." Jack narrowed his eyes. "Why show us this now?" Threxy looked at Kari. "Because you carry the crystal, and the raiders know. One of our scouts saw a message, a bounty posted across the region, on both of your heads." Kari went cold. Jack's hand tightened around his weapon. "Then they're coming," Threx nodded. "We must move before dawn." That night, as everyone prepared supplies, Kari stepped outside the station. She needed air. Stars blinked, above soft and endless. Jack joined her. "You okay?" She nodded. "I never imagined I'd meet survivors, or that they'd still remember me." Jack smiled. "You were never forgotten, just hidden." She looked at him. "Thank you for staying. You've already risked so much." "I made a promise," he said, "to your father, and to you now." She stepped closer, her voice low. "I don't think I could have done this alone." Jack looked into her eyes. "You didn't have to." But just then, boom. An explosion shook the ground. Flames lit up the transit station behind them. "Ambush!" someone shouted. Kari and Jack rushed back to see chaos. Raiders, at least 10 of them, stormed the entrance, Threx's men were already fighting, but they were outnumbered. Jack fired into the darkness. Carrie pulled Threx behind cover. Who told them? Jack shouted. That's when Threx's second-in-command, a slim alien named Ven, stepped out, holding a signal beacon. He tossed it toward them and smiled coldly. I did. Kari's heart dropped. Why? Ven shrugged. Your return threatens everything. I've kept this group alive. Not with hope, but with fear. If they follow you, they'll die. You betrayed your own people, Jack growled. No, Ven sneered. I protected them from fools like you. He lifted a blaster, but before he could fire, Threx tackled him from the side, roaring. Jack pulled Carrie and ran toward the cargo shaft. We have to escape. Now. Kari glanced back as the station burned and smoke rose into the night sky. She gritted her teeth. This isn't over. Jack looked at her. Then we fight smarter. As they vanished into the mountains far away, Ven sat chained in the ruins, and someone else watching from orbit smiled darkly. The bloodline lives, the voice said. Then the final phase begins. The last voice of her people. The mountains of Girella rose like the bones of giants. Sharp, cold, silent. Kari, Jack, and the few loyal survivors from Threx's group moved quickly through narrow, icy paths under the stars. Their gear was light, their eyes heavy, but none of them spoke of turning back. Ahead of them stood the final goal, the Sky Beacon Tower, an ancient comm station once used by royal bloodlines to speak across the stars. If they could, reach it and activate the signal, all hidden Girellans would hear the call and know their heir lived, but Jack knew the risk. They'll be waiting, he said as they neared the final ridge. Carrie nodded. Let them. She no longer trembled when she walked. The girl who once stood on the edge of death now moved, like someone born to lead. They reached the tower's entrance just before dawn, and as expected, the enemy was already there. Dozens of raiders circled the tower like wolves. At their center stood a tall armored figure with red, glowing eyes. Jack muttered, That's not just a mercenary. That's a war drone. Kari stared. It speaks. With one mind, they used those to destroy cities. I know, Jack said grimly. I saw one destroy mine. Threx moved beside them. We don't have the weapons to fight that thing. We don't need to destroy it, Kari said. We just need to distract it long enough for someone to reach the top. Jack turned to her. Someone? She looked at him. Me. No, he said instantly. You're the heir. And that's why it must be me, she said. They're hunting the bloodline. If I stay hidden, they'll keep chasing ghosts. But if I rise in front of them, if I let the galaxy see me, I stop. Being a target, I become a banner. Jack's voice was low. They'll try to kill you. Kari smiled softly. They already tried. The plan was simple and dangerous. Threx and the others would draw fire at the south side. Jack would flank from the east. Kari would climb through the broken spine of the tower, alone. When the sun broke over the peaks, the plan began. Threx charged with a roar. Blasters lit the sky. Explosions rang out. Jack fired from the side, hitting fuel tanks and forcing the raiders to scatter. And Kari climbed, her hands gripping metal, her feet scraping stone. Wind tore at her robe. Dust filled her lungs. But she did not stop. Halfway up, the tower shook. Below, the war drone turned its glowing eyes toward her. It began to climb. Inside the tower's peak, the air was thin, frozen. Kari reached the core chamber. In the center sat the beacon, a glowing crystal inside an ancient machine. She pressed her hand to the control pad. Nothing happened. The machine was dead. No, she whispered. Not now. She closed her eyes and pressed the memory crystal against it. Suddenly, light burst from the core. A voice echoed, her mother's voice. My daughter, my star, if you have reached here, then shine. Carrie stepped forward and spoke into the transmitter. Her voice was soft, but steady. To all Shirellans hiding across the stars, this is Kari, daughter of Velrin. The bloodline lives. The silence ends now. Come home. The signal burst out. Across space, across systems, hope was reborn. But behind her, the tower wall exploded. The war drone stepped through. Kari turned, ready to die on her feet. It raised its blade. Then, boom. A blast of blue energy struck it from behind. Jack stood in the hole, weapon glowing, bleeding from his side. I told you, he coughed. You don't have to do this alone. The drone turned. Jack smiled. Hey, metalhead, I still owe you. For row 7. He fired again, this time into the floor. The blast sent the platform crashing. The drone fell. Jack grabbed Kari's arm and pulled her back. They collapsed together as alarms wailed. The tower held. The beacon shone. Hours later, ships began to arrive. Old Shirellan vessels, hidden colonies. Survivors answering the call. Kari stood before them, dressed in armor once worn by her mother. Jack stood beside her, bandaged but alive. I don't know how to rule, Kari said quietly. Jack smiled. Then don't. Just lead with your heart, like your father did. She looked out at her people. I was ready to end my life once, but a human's words stopped me. Now I will spend the rest of my life speaking words that stop others from falling. Cheers rose across the mountains. The lost princess had returned, and with her, a new future had begun.